In the bottom left as the red Zerg, it is JimRising.
Fantastic. I forgot to mute my mic after that break, so let me just go redo that intro. This little spiel. We are, of course, in a qualifying match here, guys, for Copa America. JimRising took it last season. We'll see if his opponent, who's going to get introduced again, but only to you guys. In the top left corner of the map from Furious Gaming, it's the Blue Zerg Egg.
And that logo is cool.
Really? You think so? I don't know. I don't think it looks that neat.
Really?
Of course, one of the things they said while muted. But another ZVZ. You know, we're seeing a lot of Zergs in Copa America, to the point where I'm not sure that this isn't Australia. Seriously, we had like 2 days of like back-to-back 4 Zerg qualifies. We got Hengeless qualifying. We got one of these two, another guaranteed Zerg player to qualify. Seriously, Copa Zerg, I mean, it's just what it should be named to. It's pretty weighted one-sided.
We have a earlier pool from JimRising. I believe it was a 14-14, although it could have been a 13-14. Either way, it's slightly early. I think, and then he's going to go ahead and get 6 lings off the back of this at least. Just because the typical one is to get 4. If you're being greedy, you get 2. But 6 is the one that can surprise a queen and kill it. Surprise 4 lings and beat them down and get a free drone, stuff like that.
I don't know, Zombie Grub. I've never seen that happen in my entirety of casting. I think you're a liar.
Oh.
Oh, no, wait, sorry. I meant to say the other thing where, yeah, that happens actually quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah,
you know what we
right
should do? One of these days, we need to do like an opposite day cast. That'd be so frustrating.
No, wait, what does that mean?
Like, have you never done like the whole opposite day, like, sort of joke?
Yeah, but what in this situation? Like, I'm you and you're me, or
No, like,
we
okay,
say...
he's not going for lings right now, and JimRising is staying at home.
Oh,
Now, our
okay.
Protoss player in the bottom right who's gonna have a hard time. You know,
That doesn't sound fun at all. What is wrong with you?
Well, that's the thing. It's gonna
Anyways.
get hard like halfway through. That's when you start messing up.
Although, if someone donates me another $1,000, I will do the rest of this cast in a Valley Girl accent.
Can you just stop rubbing that? Like, you know, when someone asked me the first day, you know, how do you feel about that?
Totally
I was
serious,
like,
though.
really happy for you. I'm getting more and more salty every day because this keeps being brought up and it keeps being rubbed in my face.
Okay, JimRising is actually going for an all-in here, guys. So, 13, 14, 14, 14, whatever it was, it is followed up with a bathing nest and egg.
Worst
The spine
commentator ever.
crawler.
You don't even know what it was.
You don't know what it was either. What was it?
Yeah, but I'm not the one claiming it's 13, 14.
Well, I definitely the spawning point went down on 14.
Alright.
So.
Joking aside, get back on point. This is a little bit scary because normally when you see this coming as a Zerg player, what do? You wall it off. You can't do that on this map. The creep isn't extended. You usually don't have a creep teamer down right away.
Nice focus fire. Don't focus the last one. What are you doing?
Yeah, go snipe at the queens. They might be able to get a second banling here. All JimRising really needs is one, though, because he's not looking to use these banlings to kill drones. That's what the Zerglings are for. These banlings are here to crash into a hatchery?
Wow.
What the f...
I don't think that was actually worth. Usually it's to kill the larva. I'm not sure if it was worth.
No,
on
I
that.
think
Like
it was just purely a
on that
misclick.
one.
I think it was just a misclick
Yeah,
because
I
you had
think
all
as
that
well.
together.
This third, I mean, this natural weather is definitely good.
Yeah, the banelings are here to simply zone out the Zerglings. Get hits like what we just saw, you know, kill 5. He's getting for away. He gets a cancel on his opponent's hatch. This is kind of puts him on even footing, but he's really got to spiral past this because, of course, one hit on one hatchery going down like that is not going to even up the game. Egg, of course, has a lot more workers because he doesn't have to cut any for this. Well, actually, JimRising catching up with the workers. I guess he's snuck in a drone or two while this is going on. Didn't quite catch that, but following up with an Evo chamber. Is he just going to one-base this all the way through? Armor upgrades?
I was wondering. Well, there wouldn't. No, he'd have to expand because the upgrade would not.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It didn't make sense for that to happen if that was going to be the
Right.
case.
Yeah. But he could be going into the +1 Carapace. I know Fenner was talking about that when we had him on for the IEM WCS qualifier.
I've never heard of Fenner. Who's this guy? He sounds like he'd be British. Bailey's trying to find a way through. Oh my god, it's so hard. He manually detonates 2 duds.
The worst feeling hit. Well, actually, the worst feeling gets so blown to moon, but that was pretty bad.
Okay, so to explain what happened there, you guys, you might be like, how did JimRising lose those? I don't think he was tagging them. Of course, if you don't play Zerg, just so you know, you can choose to manually detonate the Zerg, the Baneling. You know, I always get paranoid clicking on this as an observer because, like, maybe it just works that one time. You see, like, a Baneling randomly
I'm
detonate.
paranoid in like the if you guys know, there's a custom game called OBS or something. It's like map name OBS. I was always afraid to do that because I was like, I don't know about this programming, man.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. I'd say Egg's in a pretty okay spot, but really the game's equalized a bit here. But we see the big difference being those Egg is starting to transition into Roaches. JimRising relying on that +1 armor tech. This is gonna really come down to timing for him. Because if there's enough Roaches out, they can sit in that actual choke here all day and keep infinite lings out. Roaches usually don't come out too much at a time. Usually it's the first 3, then another 3, and slowly trickle out because you don't have the money for this. Especially because, of course, Egg lost his second hatchery. But that's quite a few banelings ready to hold the ling aggression. I don't think JimRising's going to get what he wants out of this.
I don't believe so either. Maybe if he, could possibly wait for this +1 carapace, but the thing is that, it takes a long time to complete. Like, you want to probably be moving on to Roaches by the time it does, and it does lead itself into Roaches, obviously, and that's why it's still pretty good. You still get that +1 on the Roaches. Not the greatest control from Egg right there.
No. I mean, both players kind of, started with that baneling going off there. Not going so great here for JimRising. Is that just please? I don't know. Pause, please. Either way going down. So Jim takes a bit of a pause. Look at the actual counting station right now, though, guys. I mean, the drone count's not too different. Baneling count's certainly a lot better for Egg. And, of course, he's kind of accelerating forward as far as tech goes. He's also got some creep spread, which is kind of cool to look at. Because, of course, this gives him a little bit more vision when Overlords get taken off the map. But going on to layer tech, and Jim's still sticking on that hatch. He's got map control right now, but this easily shifts. This isn't like other maps or other matchups. JimRising's power is diminishing as time goes on.
Unless he's trying to go for maybe that's like an all-ins something, like Baneling Roach all-in. I don't think that he will. Something we rarely see, and with this upgrade, definitely not. He should start thinking about the lair now, though, if that is not the case.
I don't know. He's trying to match Roach for Roach. I just don't think it's going to cut it. He's going to have a carapace upgrade over his opponent. Woo! And he is thinking about Roaches, so we got the Roaches starting to come out. But this is like... I don't know. That third could be his advantage. We do see Egg also now taking a hatchery at the same time.
Yeah.
I kind of actually expected... I looked at the production tab completely backwards. I thought Egg was the one coming with the Roaches. It naturally assumed because he got out faster. Yeah, no, he got the Roach Horn so much faster, he got the layer attack faster. I assumed this was going to be like that rush to Roaches, but Jim coming across the map with, quite frankly, a decent Roach count.
It's alright. I mean, 7-1. It's okay. But Egg, of course, it's not. Well, maybe he gets a couple of free drone kills, maybe a queen.
He's got a lot of Zerglings, which can't be undervalued here. Only in the choke will the Roaches really find a good place to take a fight. Because out in the open, the Lings can still get a surround. I kind of think, even with the Banelings colliding into them, as long as they stay clumped, this will be decent damage.
The other Roaches are starting to join. Oh, those from there. Those are Lings are starting to join up, but they're not going to be the unless the Banelings don't hit the Lings.
Those are possibly the worst Baneling connections of all time. I'm not trying to be overly critical or overly cynical, but really, those could have gone for the Lings and probably saved him a lot of trouble from Jim. Jim does, in fact, get the hatchery snipe, backs away, and his own hatchery remains. So. Egg's been playing really defensive this game, and rightfully so because of the way it started off, but it's kind of that time to start perhaps thinking about turning this around. He's going to go for third too, but he's putting no pressure on Jim whatsoever. I don't think has he put anything on this side of the map, even a scouting ling at any point, other than an Overlord? Okay, well, he's seen the third, so I guess there must have been a speedling that ran by at some point.
Something or another. Egg also did go for double Evo chambers, so he will have the better upgrades eventually. It's going to be 1-1 very soon, and then then he'll start to surpass him. He got the faster Roach speed, which means that he could have tried poking at the very least. It wouldn't have done anything as the Roach count is very, very similar. But it could have... I mean, he got your intel, he get forces out, not drones. Like, that's all good.
Well, the Roach macro game is kind of a funny one. We have seen some players make up this deficit without doing damage. Katz is one of those guys who's just so good with his macro. I don't know how he gets extra Roaches, but he just does. JimRising might be ahead right now, but let's not forget this is going to be that defender's advantage that comes into effect pretty heavily, guys. The spine car is actually in a pretty sweet spot because it kind of covers 2 locations at once, but as far as this goes, either player that moves across the map, they're going to be meeting each other. Like right now, it's not initially the same Roach count, but it will be. I think one of the things too for Egg, this third being so far behind, is not something you often see reflected right away, but Jim's supply already 13 ahead, and that's going to keep just continuing to extrapolate from there. He's got larva inject rounds that have been going off. He's been mining off of it for longer. I guess the only criticism would be like maybe it's saturated a bit more, but I mean it's already 11 drones mining happily.
Well, again, Egg's gonna have that upgrade lead. That is all that's really going for him right now, and I guess we're gonna wait until they get to maybe 180 before they push across the map and we actually see any action. But hum-de-dum till then.
Yeah. Hey, if you guys are in chat right now, just pick a number between 150 and 200. See what you guys can guess which number one of these guys picks moves at. So, like, just straight JimRising like 184 or something. We're not going to be paying attention. You'll be the only one who knows. But you'll feel really cool because you'll know that you were right.
Yes, I will guess 182.
Oh, I'll guess 180 as well.
I see what you did there. It was only semi-amusing.
The English language is like that. We're just getting like really boring in the cast now because this, sadly, what this matchup boils down to a lot of the time. These really passive playstylings, but JimRising over the Burrow Tech is something that's kind of a little bit intriguing. I don't know if he'll match the Roach Tunneling Claws with this. We see a lot of Korean players do that, but that's because they go focus a lot on these hits and these run-bys, you know, send 4 roaches behind the mineral line, burrow and hide. I don't think this could be an opportunity that presents itself here. Now, a lot of this comes down to this one choke. You know, you can't...
182. Did I say 172 or 182?
You said 182 because I made the bad joke.
I'm
180
so
as
good.
well.
What the flip?
You should cast some
amazing.
games or something. You got some pretty good StarCraft knowledge.
Thank
Lucky.
you.
Alright, so the engagement's going to come down. And sadly, JimRising has a Roach deficit going into this, but he does start the match forcing his opponent forward. Egg getting really aggressive. Egg taking a fantastic... No! Egg taking an excellent engagement, pushing JimRising back. 38 roaches to 47.
God. Those roaches were like the two guys in the yard. They're like, what up? What up? And they're like bumping their like chests against them. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I don't know. JimRising actually going to turn this around, though. I think Egg thought Jim was going in full retreat, so he was trying to press the issue, but Jim decides to actually push with this. Now, again, he's got Burrow Tech, but can't he even utilize it? I mean...
Yeah, it'd be so amazing if he had Roach Burrow's travel speed.
Tunneling Claws?
That one, yeah.
Wow, you can guess the supply someone moves out, but one of the popular Roach upgrades, you know, whoosh, right over your head.
It didn't fit into the sentence, okay? Whatever. Anyways, it still does good damage. It kills a couple of drones, and of course it...
Well, a little more than a couple. He didn't really kill too much in the early game, but that's up to 18 now, so definitely not exactly worth losing an entire army over, but he gets something for this. And he obviously cleans this up
annoy
too.
with just the burrow without the burrow's movement.
Yeah,
That's what I was looking for, by the way, movement. Shut up.
That kinetic thing when one thing does another thing, I don't know. But yeah, Egg still got such a big Roach lead. I think JimRising is going to lose this game, guys. I hate to say it, but no matter what defensive position he takes, his opponent's now finding room to put in Hydras.
Well, you know, yeah, okay, the Hydras thing is going to be big. Obviously, they add a lot more DPS. The upgrades I don't think actually played any part in that fight whatsoever, but JimRising is still up in drones.
Shout out to Wonton, by the way. Everybody throwing down every number except for this guy who guessed 182. That's stream delay.
Me and you, buddy. Me and you.
Alright, so the Spine Callers will have a really nice effect if it's just roaches. But as pointed out before, guys, Egg's starting to get Hydras behind this, and Hydras bring us a significant more to the party, especially once already maxed out. Yeah,
Spine Callers is certainly going to help out. I think Egg might be making a mistake here.
I don't know. He's still got a Roach lead in a big way, and those Hydras are eventually going to come out behind this. Let's not forget he had a bit of a bank where JimRising didn't, so both players spending it to remax as quickly as possible. The Hydras coming into the fight on the left side do get picked off. They walk right past the Roaches, and Jim gets some nice sweet slams in those very squishy units. But that Spine Caller has been going ham on this. It's up to 2 kills, but done a lot more damage than 2 kills worth. Despite that, it's still a huge Roach lead for Egg, and I quite frankly think this is about to be game.
The supplies are still surprisingly similar. JimRising pushing forward right here, and again, we cannot actually forget that JimRising is going to have a bigger bank. He's up by 15 drones. I mean, as the base is mined out, it's not actually like very clear that that's exactly how much he's up against. But wow, actually, didn't he already get a Baneling Nest? What's going on? That's definitely a mistake.
Yeah, it's over here in the main.
Okay, he canceled it. Maybe trying to get a Hydra stand. Oh no, he's going for a Roach Baneling. We've talked about this before, and somehow it hasn't happened for like a month. But Roach Baneling is a very hard-hitting combination, but it only has 1 or 2 really good punches.
How does Mr. X Tackle, by the way, have an Egg emoticon ready for something like that on Twitch? What the hell?
I don't know.
I love Mr. X Tackle. It's just... He would be that guy, right? Anyways, yeah, for Jim, he's actually even up the army supply. You know, he didn't take a great engagement there, but it was one that got him back in the game a little bit. I think egg in this situation, you know, you gotta be careful about how much you weigh into your Hydras. Combination with the fact that we got Banelings on the way, but most importantly because they're significantly more expensive than Roach, expensive than Roaches. But the Baneling attack that comes coinciding with this, guys, does two amazing things. One, Roaches clump, as we see. No matter how the engagement goes, even if you spread out for a concave, Roaches are still clumped. Banelings might not do bonus damage versus armored, but that splash damage is impeccable. Secondly, it's bonus versus light, which Hydralisks are, so if they can get through to the Hydras, oh, even better.
That's the hope and dream, is that at the very least, if you don't get direct connection to the Hydralisk, you get them in a very clumped position with the Roaches as well. Any splits whatsoever, and it really, really takes away. He's getting a fourth. There's no matter the way you look at it, it is a very mid-game. I'm not really thinking about the future build.
It's ZVZ.
The Roach Hydra is just, it's a much it lasts longer than Roach Baneling.
Well, I mean, the thing that's kind of sad about this is, like, if you can manage to get to that point where you have Ultras in play, Ultras are just the dominant, like, oh, hey, you're a ground unit, get out of my way. Broodlord's actually coming back into the matchup quite a way. Bly was talking about this recently, how he reformed his style for it, but irrelevant for the time being, because this isn't one hatchery, it's two. The macro hatchery going to be picked off down here. JimRising rolling in those Banelings. He connects to the Hydras! Oh, that's going to sting. If the Hydra's taken out immediately, what's the Roach count remaining at? 50 versus 47. JimRising with a bit of an edge in that regard. Upgrades are 2-2 for one another. And of course, there's the Fender's advantage to consider. He lost one hatchery, but he's actually still able to mine off the other. However, 30 drones have died in this engagement.
Whoa, wait, whoa!
Whoa, what?
Whoa! Wait, what happened?
Hang on, was it, before I leave, there wasn't a counterattack. I don't know, that seemed abrupt.
What?
I don't think Egg lost that game. If we're gonna be honest.
Okay, actually, well, I mean, 83 to 137. Maybe thinking you couldn't remax fast enough to take the
counterattack.
He
had 900 in the bank. I mean, that wasn't intra GG time, guys. That was like, okay, you've taken enough fights at this point. You're not properly gauging where the game's at. That could be an appropriate GG. I just don't think it was personally.
It's you know, people always defend, you know, those actions. You know, everyone defended Idra for all of his where yes, they could take a look at this and say I absolutely will lose, but there's honestly no reason to. Like, if you stay in an extra minute because you're not sure that you lost, like, no one's gonna call you BM. Like, no one's gonna say you're so dumb you lost.
He sniped off the hatchery. He killed 30 drones. JimRising never actually got that fourth up. I mean,
I always think it's worth it until you're absolutely sure. Like, until that counterattack happens and then inside your base, just stay in the game. Because, you know, things happen. Hydra's a actually, like, save your DPS. Like, something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
Well, that's just game number one, guys. So, not to overly analyze this. Game number two going to be taking place here on Catalina. Mr. Egg's tackle. No wonder he has that emoticon. Son of a... I didn't even think about it. But, yeah, you join off me, madam?
Oh, yes. Yes, I will. See, I'm in a chat channel, and I keep thinking that you're in it, but it's actually not the correct chat channel, so I never see that your thing is going up.
Wow, you can check the friends list? Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. I'm not your friend. I don't even get to know your Twitter.
Well, that's what I have to do, is I have to go to the freaking friends list.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Saying what I think I need to hear, but it's... I see right through your BS.
You wouldn't even...
What? Need glasses?
What? No. What?
You got a problem with me wearing glasses?
No. Wait, where did this come from?
Absolutely nowhere. We're just getting the last couple casters filtered in here, guys, to Catalina. And, yeah, I think should be good. All right. See you guys in a sec. You know, I would love to have what Egg said in chat here translated. So what's that mean? Like how to lose a game 101 by Egg or something like that? Oh, hey! Ha! Nailed it! Give me a hammer, zombie girl, because I nailed it. Alright, welcome back to the game, guys.
Wait. You already nailed it. Why would I give you a hammer?
Damn it!
Wouldn't it be like hold my hammer?
You were the biggest killjoy! I was about to jump into the intros, I was so excited. You do them both! I don't even...
I don't know what to tell you. I'm pretty logical for an artist. Well, Rifkin's clearly just gonna keep gaping at like his camera in, I don't know, defeat.
No, I told you do them both. I'm salty.
Okay, and the top position as the blue Zerg, it is Egg. And in the middle left position as the red Zerg, it is JimRising.
Alright, so Jim played a pretty good defensive game. Egg lost a pretty good game. Questionable timing on that GG.
I mean, a little bit. It's as we went over it, he was down by quite a bit of supply, but it's like roaches really inflate, so that 900 minerals could have made it look a lot less clear. But we'll never know, as they won't go back and play it because that would take too much time.
6 Zerglings on the way for Jim.
Rifkin's gonna be all depressed because his joke didn't work. He didn't quite think it through, and Zombie called it out on him.
It's like, actually, there's another one I got called, just speaking of self-analysis here, I'll be like, stop, drop, and roll, you got burned. But it's like, if you're not on fire, why would you stop, drop?
Because you are burning.
No, but, okay, whatever. Anyways, let's get in the fight on the ramp. Discuss some stupid analogies later. Jim takes a pretty good start to the fight, but drones can make up this difference pretty easily. Knowing this decides not to duck into the mineral line, but this was just 6 lanes set up for some aggression. Maybe force out a couple extra of his opponent, not let him drone like crazy, but Egg actually holds pretty nicely, just continues to drone. And no panic whatsoever.
They both made the same amount of lings, I think. Which is odd. I talked earlier about how 6 lings can sometimes, overcome a person who only gets 2 if they're a little greedy. But they actually just both made the exact amount.
Well, looking for a way to snipe that ling, but of course doesn't want to go off creep because queens are horrendously slow. Does get cut off creep here for a moment.
Does scout the baling nest?
Well, hey, yeah, I was gonna say the baling nest is not only coming down; it's coming down in the main. Oftentimes it's usually a wall at the natural, of course, but this is. I think he saw it. Yeah, he did see it.
Yeah.
Bit of an odd thing to see. So this doesn't necessarily mean he's going aggressive, guys. You can put a defensive baling nest down. Typically, when you quote-unquote hide it in the main, though, usually it's because you're looking to go across the map. I would actually love if this was just some sick mind gaming out of Egg. Just show the baling nest, but, no baling follow-up. Oh, but with the evolution chamber, I think he is actually going to go into it.
Yeah. We didn't actually note that JimRising had gone for Gassic style this entire time. So, I think if Egg had to do a baneling bust or something like that, it's actually quite hard to deal with it. Most people look at that and they say, because it was an old saying back in Wings of Liberty. Like, if you didn't have your own banelings versus banelings, you were kind of screwed. Like,
well, that was also at a time when queens had like no range.
Well, no, it was after the patch. I mean, the patch was actually like a really long time ago. But like the gas style didn't really exist, and it wasn't even, or if it did exist, it wasn't very popular at all until like last year's I Am New York, which is when it was just like everyone and their mother do it. And then it's now just 1 or 2 options, but
yeah,
it actually holds up well against baneling Owens. Okay.
I was gonna say Snoot actually really helped popularize that too, because he would do it like every game.
Okay.
Of course,
I
all eyes
believe
on
that.
Snoot.
Yeah, it's actually very effective at holding against most all-ins. The problem with it, and Fenner did talk about this. Remember that guy who was like Australian or something? I don't know. He talked about how it's actually like
He's
the
British.
old way. I know, and I like to bother both of them, so I keep calling them each other.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, I respect that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Do you ever watch
But,
House?
no, I hate it.
Ah, man. Why can't I find one TV show in a cast that like we've both seen? This kills me every time.
Well, we have Arrested Development.
Okay. It's the golden
go.
one. It makes up for all discrepancies. But a
Yes,
third base came down from Egg pretty quick. For JimRising, of course, he's looking geared towards more damage. There's a lot of links coming out to support his roaches that are going to be the follow-through, but his third only ever so slightly behind.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to talk about, was that sometimes when you go this, Fenner was talking about how the old way of doing it is just not very effective. Going straight up to layer, staving off that third for a while, because then the person who's not going gasless just gets the third much faster, and can even have a certain timing where just enough lings will cancel your third as your roach number is still very low. So it's actually not the case. This Egg went very fast into his own roaches, even after throwing down that baneling nest. Okay.
Sorry, I don't know. Camera does. I don't like this interface.
That's actually a lot of lings from JimRising. Usually the person who goes gases does not go ahead and invest into a lot of lings like this, but he's going to be the one who's able to go ahead and cancel this hatchery. There's no way these roaches have enough DPS.
Well, let's not forget too, Jim's the guy who like makes lings like crazy and makes them work in situations they shouldn't. He is gonna get the hatch kill, but yeah, the question is like, was it worth all those lings? He catches a couple drones for it too. I mean, the actual minerals loss is not that big of a deal, but that's his army, right? Like if there's a counterattack, there's a small amount of roaches waiting at home.
Surprisingly, really though, JimRising still has a same supply count, a faster third, not higher drones, okay, that's one thing he's missing, but also faster upgrades. He's already at 1-1, where Egg's still kind of working on that last one.
Well, actually, it was that third combined with the fact that he had pretty good macro behind it that really, I think, brought him back into that last game. Because let's not forget, Egg's third did get killed off that one time, and of course, Jim was able to just keep mining from his, get a macro hatchery, and really extend his way back into the game. I'm not going to call it a lead because it wasn't, but get his way back in through good defensive fights. Something Egg, I don't think this will be the same situation. I really don't think he'll lose the space twice, but yeah, at the moment when it comes to Roach versus Roach, numbers are everything, and you got to get that macro going. JimRising a little bit behind in overall supply, but the thing with ZVZ, c'est la vie, defender's advantage.
Right, one spine crawler that goes unpunished while in a roach engagement is almost, not nearly, but almost the same idea as effective as a muta with a spore crawler. Muta versus muta, one spore crawler. Makes all the difference in the world. I think we're gonna have to wait a while though. I had to play that guessing game again.
Did you catch any the Red Bull finals today, by the way?
The red ball sounds like an amazing convention ball, like a
party. You gotta be all fancy. Yeah.
Oh, we gotta get that with like the fancy Red Bull. But no, which game?
You know what bugs me? Hang on. You know what player needs to be picked up by Red Bull? Buell. Red Buell. Anyone?
Oh yeah, I see it. I like it.
But no, Suppy versus Scarlet. Suppy had this like crazy game with mutas. He lost. Spoiler alert, guys. But he had this crazy game where his control of the mutas was so sick. Like it was a game he should have lost. He was killing off Scarlet. She was turtle on 2 bases and Festers with like 3K in the bank. I mean, it was a pretty fun game to watch. And for ZVZ, the only reason I bring this up for context, guys, a lot of the matchup, even though it's boring right now and it's stale and just waiting for roaches to max out, whether it's mutas, whether it's roaches, whether it's infestors, control can make the world of difference when it comes to getting back into a game or taking a decisive fight. Sometimes it's just segmenting your roaches a little bit to the left. Sometimes it's what Egg did last time and moving his way into the roaches between shots. A big part of why he does that is because it allows more roaches to connect. Whereas if you're busy shooting from line to line, usually there's about 4 or 5 roaches running around the back, out of range, unable to fight. So, I mean, it's kind of boring right now, guys, but when it comes down to the actual fight, it's going to take a lot of control from both these players to get that perfect engagement. Unrelated, though, JimRising's creep. Holy, what the when did this happen?
I'm actually a little surprised that both games is, we've cast a few games. This is actually the first time in a while. Not taking anything away from these players, it just happens to be the way this game has gone. But it's the first time in a while where the ZVZ has actually been a good 60 supply chunk of us literally waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen like this type of ZVZ in a while. It's kind of like of ages past. Usually much more popular, especially lately, especially with Koreans, is one person goes for Roach with the burrow movement, and then the other person goes for the Roach Hydra, and it leads to
Yeah.
very cool games. But now we're
Well,
having just up to Hive for Egg.
I really like the Infestor choice here. One thing Infestors allow you to do, well, actually, hold that thought for now. We get the Roach Wars actually going to start up here. Red versus blue, line versus line, 60 versus 57. But with a concave at the top of the ramp here, JimRising, I mean, it's not much of a concave, guys, but having 4 roaches up here shooting down is a big deal. Forced to disengage for the moment. We have Egg also moving on to Hive Tech. He's got Spine Cars to fight behind, but the Infestors are what I'm really curious about. Fungals are going to land, and if they land, you know, Fungals are almost like force fields. They can really just force a fight. It's not about dealing a lot of damage. It's about keeping the roaches in place so his own roaches can fight. But gets towards the main. He's going to see this Hive on the way. I don't think he's got the DPS to focus it. Jim
I'm surprised he didn't burrow some at the natural.
Yeah, he's got a couple that managed to slip around, but I think they get picked off now. Inside the main, he tries to go for the burrow. Is there an overseer nearby? There is, so this gets absolutely nothing accomplished, sadly. Rest of the roaches are going to try and bully their way through the natural. This will work out because the roaches are defending around the third with the Infestors. With the Spines. Oh god, he can snipe his base. He's going to snipe this base. Hell, he could go to the main and snipe the main afterwards. Oh, but the roaches actually get in position to block.
If he loses his entire army in the process, it won't be worth it. The counterattack will be too strong.
You know, he's got enough minerals in the bank, though. I think he can remax out of this, truthfully.
Oh, that's true. I didn't notice his bank. Wow.
And he kills all the Infestors, too? Oh my god, he's actually getting a good fight out of this. He kills the Infestors off. He's killing a lot of drones that are just kind of meandering back. This went way better for Jim than it should have. This should not have been an opening allowed to him.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, especially with Infestors. Like, you leave 2, they fungal on the ramp, and then that buy you enough time. So, yeah, I'd say just a plain mistake from Egg right there to let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, they both come in as fairly even supply, but as pointed out before, Jim's going to be able to remax up. There's no problem with that bank. Although exhausting it now. What is curious, though, guys, not only does he have a macro hatchery his opponent doesn't, he's also on a whole hatchery above it. So it's kind of like, it's 4 hatcheries to 2 for production. So Egg's actually going to struggle to remax here. JimRising, however, can't get enough units to take, I guess, advantage of that window for now. Maybe able to extend this into further engagement, but Hydralisk being added in here. Level 3 weapons. Oh, sorry, actually, Leg's the one on level 3 weapons on the way. He squeezed out high, but Hydras, of course, that's a very weird dynamic, guys. You can't have too many. You know, they seem really good, and it seems like a good idea to just hold down that H button and pump them out, but quite frankly, without roaches to buffer for them, they're kind of horrible. They just don't have a lot of health. And the roaches, pure roaches versus pure hydras, roaches actually end up tending to win a majority of the time.
Egg does have an overlord over JimRising's 4th, so he knows well and good that he is just playing behind in a base right now. Well, 2, well, 1.5.
Actually, it's 5 bases, yeah. 5 whole hatcheries producing larvae above his opponents.
Yeah, even defending against potential run-bys from Egg, because really Egg's got to start thinking about that. While the numbers are similar, the bank is going to be so much more for JimRising in a couple of minutes, and that's when he's going to just have to push.
You know, we talked to you about how you never want to be the attacker, you always want to be the defender. Egg's had that advantage every step of the way, and he's not really been able to capitalize on it, because Jim's been finding openings where he just really shouldn't. Parked in the middle like this is probably where Egg wants to be, but of course Jim's just going to circumvent this. Yeah, let's go up to the 3rd.
Yeah. He might just push it. Egg does have a few Infestors that are about to pop again.
It's going to be really hard to get those money fungals off. Jim's going to try and take the engagement here. It is 45 roaches to 60, but 19 hydras to 11. We'll see if that DPS pays off or not. A lot of these hydras are wasting their time shooting overlords, though. That's a huge mistake. However, JimRising still decides to bully in. Let's not forget, guys, Egg is so close to those level 3 weapon upgrades, but they're not going to come in for this fight.
So close to level 3 weapons, so close to having Infestors at a time when they've been absolutely critical. Now might just barely be enough. The roaches are still there for Egg, not for JimRising. The Hydras do go down.
Yeah, like I said, JimRising loses this, but he can afford to do it, because look at this, he's making way more roaches behind this. Egg's going to have an upgrade advantage coming into the next fight, but it's going to be irrelevant if he's down 30 roaches. JimRising, let's not forget, guys, not only was he up that extra base, and Egg had to spend time replacing his natural, Jim expanded behind this. This is huge. Because both players' mains are starting to mine out at this point. The actual overall worker count a little bit in favor to Jim still too. So I mean, it's just every step of the way, it seems like he's a little bit further ahead. The upgrades are the one thing going for Egg, and I don't know for a way for him to utilize that.
No. Well, what's so disappointing for Egg is that his game plan looks very solid. You know, he had those Infestors just barely out in time for that one push. And then JimRising did that, you know, into the main and into the natural thing. Like, that shouldn't have happened. And if it had not happened, he would have had a much faster 3-3, which is what he was going for. I mean, to make such a fast hive like that was definitely a decisive move, saying, I think I can hold off anything you can throw at me now that we're both maxed. And when that doesn't happen, well, your entire game plan revolving around upgrades don't matter, as you said, when you're down 30 roaches.
Yeah. The infestors are kind of cool. What I would have liked to have seen, actually, for a way to get Egg back in the game, burrow them. You notice JimRising doesn't really have any, or does he? Actually, I don't think he has a single overseer. No. So if you were to burrow and move the infestors across the map, throw down a bunch of infested Terrans, or just fungal growth and mineral line twice, I mean, that would be a good way for him to get back into this, I think. But using the infestors defensively are no good. A big part of like why you get infestors too, guys, is so you can lock down like 8 roaches and force them to fight when the rest of the army disengages. You know, they're kind of like force fields in that regard. They force the fights. They pick and choose your battles. But we've not seen them utilize it like that. The infestors have been missing half their shots, and the other ones have been kind of getting, I don't know. At the end of that battle was already won. The fungal growths were kind of just, I'm helping, yay! But
Well,
a supply lead for Jim.
Well, yeah. It's not nearly as much as it was, you know, at a time. But this, the fungals, the concave, I'm not sure. Maybe JimRising was overzealous in pushing in here.
I think he's got the numbers through roaches, but he's definitely outnumbered through hydras. The infested Terrans trying to come in, but as we see, as the roaches start dissipating, so do those hydras. Num, 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 num.
Yeah. But here's again where JimRising's bank is coming into effect. Now, after 2 times where we say, oh, JimRising's bank is coming into effect, the 3rd time, if it has to happen again, he actually won't have that bank. And then it becomes a little scary.
Well, I disagree, because he expanded again behind this.
I just noticed that he did the 5th base as well, and
Yeah.
Egg still has not gotten 4th, so it probably will never matter.
It's a hard situation for Egg at this point. I don't really know what he does to win this game. He is trying to expand, so that's a good start. But yeah, main pretty much mined out. Natural base has more minerals than it should, quite frankly, and really relying on this 3rd. Jim with some sneak attacks, gonna try and get past this once again. Stems up an infestor, not too bad for that run by. That almost makes this worth it. Sadly, he'll lose the queen as well. Not too many drones left to kill.
If Egg, I'm actually surprised. Egg has had a couple of opportunities, I think, where you could have snuck in a 4th at some point, just now doing it, and always consistently having the lower drone counts.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's, if he had an army to fight with, 3-3 over 3-2 is actually a pretty big deal, but sadly he doesn't and won't.
Oh, this 4th isn't gonna come up anyways.
Yikes. Even if he loses the roaches for it, worth it. Gets the kill, not even a cancel. Egg actually can't afford to make another one, and he's still dealing with these roaches in the main.
Oh, finally the overseer comes and helps him out, but Egg is, he's slowly dying out here. It is slow. I mean, the last 2 engagements have gone in his favor.
Well, hang on. Let's not forget, you know, he was massively ahead last game and JimRising brought it back. This game, sadly, I don't think the comeback potential's there, but I also didn't think it was there for JimRising either. But this time, with more bases on the map, it just seems more statistically improbable that he comes back.
The thing that Egg could do is, I mean, it's not nearly as powerful as it was before, but, you know, the old saying, you know, just if you want to, like, come back, just make infestors. It can still happen, not in direct engagements, but I'm thinking more like, you know, if a Terran's behind, they start medevac dropping everywhere, like, get that burrow, do the infested Terrans everywhere. You noted that there was barely any overseers for JimRising. If he can take down 3 bases at once because JimRising is not expecting this, suddenly he's back in.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. What I would actually love to see at this point, because JimRising's been finding his advantages getting around his opponent, either a Nidus Worm or perhaps Ventral Sacs. 2 things that you would never go for in this situation, but might just work because of the way his opponent plays. You know, just a super turtle outside the base style. Oh,
Wow,
he's
these
really
roaches.
getting ballsy. There's an overseer there. That wouldn't work too much longer, but he gets an infestor snipe for it, so maybe worth it? Question mark.
Not sure about that one. JimRising's gonna get his own infestor, saying, hey, I guess that's a pretty good unit as he's been winning these past fights. And his +3 carapace is also going to finish, so no more upgrade lead for Egg.
Yeah, and that's technically gone too. On infestors coming out. I mean, one of the big things for JimRising at this point, he's got to be so frustrated, because at this point he's recognized, like, hey, you got to be on like 2 bases of economy. How am I not winning this game?
Right, yeah, exactly. Look at the resources lost. I mean, I actually expected it to be bigger.
Oh my god, so many infestors in the back, so juicy.
For the burrowed roaches, yes.
Yeah.
Well, also for a fungal of JimRising as well.
Both players are going to possibly eat a fungal. Hydra's on the wrong side of this fight, though. They're on the front lines. They should be on the back. What are the roaches on the low ground doing? Yo! Seriously, what are you guys doing? A concave working in the favor of JimRising is sadly egg funnels into this. And
It's the only hope is his investors. That is most of his supply right now.
Yeah. Perhaps a little over-eager pushing in here. I mean, he kills the army off pretty nicely, but Jim's gonna have that remax of 52 roaches, zombie grub.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, Egg, you might be saying, like, Egg was doing so well defending, but I think he felt so pressured because he could never get that fourth up, but the only way you're gonna get your fourth up is when you attack. So attack and expand, you know?
Well, you know, when he killed that base just now, he felt ecstatic.
How did that fungal miss? What the?
I don't know, but the second one hits. It was an excellent hit.
They're really not, though. Like, they're not that great.
I'm just trying to go with
They're not
puns.
saving his life.
Like, before the game's over, I just want to get as many egg puns in there as I could.
Oh, I see. Before the game's over, gotcha. Because it is 1-0 in JimRising's
It's a
favor.
poultry display. Wait, no, there's not chickens, it's eggs. Never mind.
Which,
All right,
I mean, they
GG
can
gonna
be
be
chickens.
EGG is going to be called.